Hello, my name is Genesis Anderson, and I am a graduate student at the University of Memphis seeking a doctoral degree in Urban Educational Leadership and Policy Studies. The title for my presentation today is Exploring the Effect of Teacher Preparation on Teacher Dispositions and Belief Systems Within Urban Education. There are about 5 key terms that you will hear throughout this presentation that I wanted to go over. Urban schools. Specifically for this presentation, urban schools will refer to Title I schools. And Title I schools are schools that enroll at least 40% of children from low-income families. Teacher dispositions is another one. It's the perceptions or beliefs that guide teacher actions. It's a way of behaving, a person's values, beliefs, and attitudes, qualities that can be learned. Teacher efficacy is a teacher's belief that he or she can have a positive effect on student learning. Culturally responsive teaching. This particular term is well documented. However, one researcher defines it as using the culture, knowledge, prior experiences, frames of reference, and performance styles of ethnically diverse students to make learning encounters more relevant to and effective for them. I'm in my 6th year as an educator in what is considered an urban school. This particular study is driven by a personal force for me because it wasn't the accredited teacher preparation program nor my urban professional community that contributed to my persistent and resilient teacher disposition and genuine care that I have for my students and their success. This particular quote was learned simply by my experience that I have with my students. And I continue to try to perpetuate this throughout my professional community. If a child can't learn the way we teach, maybe we should teach the way they learn. And I find that it's difficult for a teacher to do these type of things without genuine care for their students. I would say it's safe to say that education is valued in America. And I personally believe that our capacity to succeed as a nation relies on the edification of all its people. And our Constitution attempts to ensure this by offering free government education to all its children, regardless of citizenship, race, or economic status. In 1954, the Brown versus Board of Education case sought to eradicate segregation of schooling within the United States. The case helped to integrate schools, serving as an important catalyst for change where the separate but equal doctrine remained. Much to the dismay of African Americans, the prominent court case seemed to have caused more harm than good. The decision ended up doing nothing to uproot racism and discrimination in other aspects of life, which inadvertently created the achievement gap amongst diverse populations, and thus creating what we know today as urban school reform. To add to the context of urban schools, the term refers to schools that primarily serve poor and minority students, who are often characterized by lower academic achievement compared to their suburban counterparts. Research states that Blacks and Hispanics are the country's 2 largest and most powerful minority groups. Oftentimes, these groups are linked together mainly due to their commonalities amongst demographics, as they are ranked lowest in income and education-related topics. Since the 1950s, Brown versus Board of Education, urban school reformers have been faced with a plethora of pressing issues relating to administration, the board, work relations, teacher retention, teacher turnover, policies, resources, funding, etc. However, many scholars have found that improving teacher quality within urban schools is the first-rate way to reform urban education. Teacher turnover is an important aspect of urban education reform. It is extremely high in urban schools. Many districts struggle to attract and retain high-quality teachers in these urban schools. And teacher turnover negatively affects student achievement over time. And few veteran teachers want to teach where these rates are high, leaving positions in low-performing schools open to novice teachers. The burden on new teachers to manage students in low-performing schools that often lack in stable leadership and strong teacher community highlights the challenge that teacher preparation programs face as they attempt to prepare graduates to succeed in urban settings. Educators and policymakers agree that teacher quality has more impact on student achievement than any other identifiable factor. Thus, teacher education programs are under increasing scrutiny as they are tasked with the job of producing teachers who feel well prepared to teach, who enter and remain in the field of teaching, and who are effective teachers of students with a range of strengths and needs. With good intentions, many teacher preparation programs continue to produce graduates who meet state qualifications, but many of whom do not persist in the profession for more than just a few years. Many graduates and novice teachers are reluctant to teach in urban schools, and many have claimed to feel ill-prepared for these teaching environments. As previously mentioned, new teachers who begin their careers in high-poverty urban schools are more likely to transfer to a different school or district or discontinue teaching altogether within their first 3 years of the profession. Many urban schools and districts have looked for ways to strengthen their recruitment and retention of qualified teachers who are most likely to continue teaching in their schools. Likewise, many institutions of higher education have tried to be more intentional about the design of their teacher preparation programs in ways that encourage and more fully prepare candidates who are highly effective and committed to urban education. All of the stakeholders within the urban education community affect student outcomes in one way or another. But it's the teachers who have that first-hand experience with the students because they directly implement curriculum directly to the students. Thus, teachers directly affect a student achievement. Therefore, their dispositions and belief systems should actively and wholeheartedly support the learners of all urban education schools. The term teacher dispositions differs among teacher education programs. According to the National Council for Accreditation of Teacher Education, teacher dispositions are the values, commitments, and professional ethics that influence practices and behaviors towards students, families, colleagues, and communities and affect student learning, motivation, and development, as well as the educator's own professional growth. Dispositions are guided by knowledge bases and beliefs and attitudes related to values such as caring, fairness, honesty, responsibility, and social justice. For example, they might include a belief that all students can learn, a vision of high and challenging standards, or a commitment to a safe, supportive learning environment. Now let's talk about teacher efficacy. One of the ways teachers have the ability to impact student achievement is through their sense of efficacy. Teachers' efficacy is their judgment about their own ability to increase student learning. The purpose of this study is to analyze and examine the experiences of teachers working in urban education systems. Specifically, the study aims to determine the effects of teacher preparation on urban teacher dispositions and belief systems. Serving as an educator in an urban environment is significantly more than simply teaching students. Urban teachers should be intentional about implementing culturally responsive practices into their everyday teacher actions. They should exhibit the expert mentalities that encourage student learning and pass on a positive picture of obtaining knowledge. To do this, positive teacher dispositions and teacher efficacy is mandatory. Urban teacher preparation, along with urban school in-service programs, should be well versed in fostering positive teacher dispositions that positively affect teacher efficacy. But the question is, are they? This is a mixed method study that seeks to contribute to the literature by investigating the experiences, knowledge, and dispositions of urban teachers toward teacher preparation and development efforts as a route to urban school reform. Data collection will be based on the following research questions. 1. How do teachers perceive their readiness, effectiveness to teach in urban, low economic communities based on their teacher preparation, both pre-service and in-service? 2. How well do teacher preparation programs, pre-service and in-service, prepare teachers to teach in urban education settings? 3. Do pre-service/in-service preparation impact teacher dispositions or belief systems about teaching in urban education settings? And 4, how do those trainings impact teacher dispositions? Are teachers becoming aware of the spaces in which they're teaching? The theoretical framework is critical race theory. It shines a light on the inequality that exists in U.S. schools today. It states that race plays a critical role in the curriculum. This current Eurocentric norm that is used to prepare teachers is inadequately preparing them for success in the urban education system, which negatively affects teacher burnout, recruitment, and retention, thus adding to the achievement gap. This study is also viewed through a conceptual framework of culturally responsive pedagogy. There's a great need for cultural responsiveness in urban, low economic schools. As America is quickly diversifying, the need for culturally responsive pedagogy in urban, low economic schools greatly increases. There are 5 major themes to culturally responsive pedagogy. 1. Identity and achievement. 2. Equity and excellence. 3. Developmental appropriateness. 4. Teaching the whole child. And 5. Teacher-student relationships. However, the fifth tenet of culturally responsive pedagogy is the focus for this study. Student-teacher relationships. The interactions between teachers and students have been found to have the greatest impact on student learning. Therefore, fostering teacher dispositions and belief systems is critical to urban educational reform. Urban education is in dire demand of better prepared teachers. Teacher preparation programs vary greatly across the United States. Some programs do not consider urban education as a differential factor as it relates to the readiness of teachers, while other programs are progressive by collaborating with their local communities and neighborhood schools. Devoted teachers who possess a true passion for teaching may be just what urban education needs in their many efforts to close the achievement gap. Students with noteworthy conduct issues in their initial years are less inclined to continue having them later on in their school if their educators' genuine actions show attributes of consistent love and care. Through the intersectionality of a critical race theory and a culturally responsive pedagogy lens, teachers can reflect on their own experiences, teacher actions, biases, and work with all stakeholders to directly challenge the racism that exists in and outside of universities and schools and begin to restructure the classroom as a space for growth for all. This study calls for a mixed methods, sequential exploratory, qual-quant design approach. It consists of 2 distinct phases. The first phase is the collection and analysis of qualitative data. The second phase is the collection and analysis of quantitative data. The qualitative portion is a phenomenological research. It's the study of lived experiences of a group around an event or concept, shared experiences. The quantitative portion will consist of survey research, which is collecting data to test hypotheses or answer questions about people's opinions on a problem or issue. Cross-sectional, longitudinal. An exploratory, sequential, mixed methods approach was selected to broadly explore and understand shared experiences of urban teachers and how their experiences is perceived by school stakeholders to develop a connection between teacher effectiveness and teacher preparation. The qualitative portion will collect data using a phenomenological interview, and then will measure the shared experiences of at least 10 teachers who teach in urban districts. The teacher selection range will be from novice teachers to veteran teachers who have identified as being raised in an urban community or who identify as suburban community. The quantitative approach will be survey research with at least 100 participants of all stakeholders within the urban education community. The survey will collect stories, interactions, and experiences of faculty, students, and parents as it relates to the urban teacher preparation. An analysis of the transcripts will lead to an interpretation of urban teacher effectiveness. The hope here is that the analysis and interpretation of this portion will strengthen and support that of the qualitative research. I appreciate you all for taking the time to listen. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.